Hey guys, welcome back to my channel again. My name is Arsalan and today we are on day 50th of solving the object-oriented programming system questions with the help of Python. So if you are very new to this playlist, let me give you a very brief introduction of what this playlist is all about. In this playlist, we have been solving questions based on object-oriented programming. We started from a very basic question from day one, then we have been solving question based on object-oriented programming. On each day we have been increasing the bar like anything. We started from a very basic idea, very basic logic, and then from day one then move on to day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and so on and so forth. Now we are on day 50th, where we are solving question on hybrid inheritance. We also have discussed many concept of object oriented programming already. We have already discussed many type of inheritance. We have discovered all of the inheritance, and we have also discussed hybrid inheritance already. We are doing question based on hybrid inheritance, and we did already so many questions based on it. So we are now practicing question based on hybrid inheritance, and I have prepared one more question based on hybrid inheritance that is already displayed on your screen. So if you are very new to this channel, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, press the bell icon button, and bookmark the playlist so that you can get the updates from the channel. So let's start this tutorial with a question. Create a class called person with attributes name and age. Implement a method called display info that prints out the name and age of the person. So as you already know, first of all we create a parent class, and the name of the class is person, and we will be closing it here with a colon here, and then we will be just introducing two instance attribute that includes name and age, and we have one method here as well. First of all, let's create two instance attributes, that is name and age, and we have to write this also. Self.name is equals to name and self.age is equals to age. So this is introducing the variables, and then after this we have to create a method called display info, which includes the information of the person. So we have to take self here, of course, and then we have to print two values. So first of all we have to print the f string, and in the first print value we will be just taking the name. So let's print out the name, self dot name, and moreover we will be putting one more print value which includes age here, and then it includes self.age here as well. Now after doing this, what we have to do, we have to create I guess another we have to create a child class. So let's see what they're asking us next to do. So create two child classes, student and employee, both inheriting from person class. So let's create two child classes that includes child class 1, that is student and employee. So first is student and second is employee. So I'm just putting it like this, and I have to create two child classes. First child class is class student, and then we will be just putting closing it by parentheses, and inside those parentheses we have to put the name of the parent class since it's a child class. So let's put person uh, person, and then after this I will be just closing it by a colon here, and I will be just passing this for now. And after doing this I will be creating another class called employee, and this will be just doing the I will be just doing the same thing for this too. I will just passing this for now, and then I have to change it. So I am just creating two child classes, student and employee. After doing this, we have to read paragraph number 3, which says that for the student class add an additional attribute student ID to represent the student ID. Implement a method called display in student ID that prints out the student ID. So let's do that as well. We will to just introduce a student ID attribute here. So I will be removing pass from here and just writing def init here, and the moment I will be pressing enter I will be getting super init function. So as we have already discussed it in our previous tutorials, that we will be not using super while we just doing hybrid or multiple inheritance, and I have already told you the reason behind this. So if you don't know the reason, you can watch my 49th tutorial and 48th tutorial I mean, you can just watch from my previous tutorial, which I specifically talk about these, why I'm not talking, why I'm not taking this function. Sorry, why I'm not using super init function. So just remove it from here, and I will be just using directly the name of the class. So while I put the name of the class, I am just directly connecting it with my parent class. Now I have to put self here as well, and after that this I have to introduce one more attribute, that is student id, and after this student id I have to implement a method called display info student id, display student id, that prints out the student id. All right, so that is simple, but just before that I have to put a comma instead of a full stop, and then I have to before creating a method I have to create a variable called student id. So self.student id is equals to student id, and after this I can create my method called display student id, and I have to take self inside this parenthesis, and I have to uh, simply print what, student id colon and self dot student id. So as you can see, it's not showing me the correct way of representation, so I have to just put a f string here, which will be just taking me dynamic values. It will be giving me a dynamic value, which will be just connecting it with my student id, which will just connecting it with my student id. And after doing this I have to create after doing this we have to move on to paragraph number 4. So for the employee class, add an additional attribute employee ID to represent the employee ID. Represent a method, implement a method called display employee ID that prints out the employee's ID. So we have to do the same thing, just we have to change the names according to the employee class. So just we have to change something. So after we have to just rename something, so it has to be like this, and employee id and employee id again, and after this it will be employee id again, so employee id again, and after doing this I have to just change it to employee id again, and this method should also be employee id. So I have to change few things, and rest remains the same, and this here will be coming like this too. So employee id, now it's fine. And as you can see, we have created a method, a class called employee, which have three instance attribute. One is additional, and two, it has already inherited from person class, and then we have an additional attribute, and we have taken a variable called self.student employee id is equals to employee id. And then after this we have created a method called display employee id, and which prints the value employee id self.display self.employee id. So we have done our paragraph number 4 too. So we have to create now we have to move on to paragraph number 5, which says that create a grandchild class called working student. So now we have to focus on creating a grandchild which is named as working student, that inherits from both the student and employee classes. So let's do this as well, where we have to just write it like this: grandchild is working student and I have to inherit from uh, grandchild working student that inherits from both student and employee classes. So it works like this: first of all I have to write a class, and then I have to write the name of the class and close it by parentheses, and inside those parentheses I have to take the name of two different classes, which are person and student. So first of all I will be taking student, since it's my parent class one, and then let me write it in the All right, I will be putting some comments here that student, I will be putting it like this: student parent 1, and then my employee is parent 2. So it's they are parent of what? They are parent of working student. So employee, so this will be inheriting from both the parent class, so it will be inheriting from student and employee. However, these two are uh, child classes of person. So person is a parent and it has two child which are student and employee, and those two parent have a single child called a working student. All right, so person has a grandchild, you can see a grandchild called working student. So person grandchild is working student. All right, so we can just put it like this now, and then we can focus on creating our attributes, instance attributes. So def init, and after this I am getting again a super init function, but it is, let's see first of all what the question is asking, then we can just focus on rectifying the super init function. So for the working student class, add an additional attribute salary to represent the salary of the working student. Implement a method called display salary that prints out the salary. So we have to add an additional attribute. We have to just introduce an additional attribute here that starts from salary, that is salary in fact, and then I have to give the variable called self.salary is equals to salary, and after this I have to remove super init function here, and moreover I have to take as you can focus here that I am getting only three attributes here: name, age, and student ID, but I am not getting the employee ID. I'm not getting the employee ID here. However, I am inheriting from both the parent class, so super init function is not taking me the uh, it's not giving me the attribute from the employee. So what we can do here is, instead of putting super here, I can just write student here, and after this student I can just put self here, and after this I will be just putting copying this whole code down below, and removing the student from here and taking employee here, and after this I have to give one more attribute here, that is employee ID, and I have to remove this this part. First let me copy this and just replace this student ID with employee ID. Now we have the error which was coming here was that we were not getting the employee ID has been solved here, and now we can just call our employee ID attribute. So we can use employee ID attribute now in our working student class if it is asked to be used. But I hope that you have understood this part, that why we have done taken student here and employee here directly. So why we have taken directly, because superinit function was not allowing us to use the functionality of the employee, and moreover if we use superinit function it will be creating an ambiguity, which I have already discussed in my previous tutorial, that why it will be creating an ambiguity, which in which I guess this was the question on day 47, and also on day 48 I have discussed in detail, and also on 49 I have covered about why it will be creating an ambiguity. So while you watch it is from the start my inheritance tutorial, you will be just knowing it why it will be creating an ambiguity, that why we are not using super init function here. So let's start let's resuming let's continue focusing on this part, And then what we have to do here is create an instance of the working student class. So first of all, let's create a method called def display salary, which will be displaying salary, of course, and I will be printing a value called uh, in double quotes, which will be seeing that salary colon and salary. So I hope now you have understood this. Now we can create instances easily. So create an instance of working student class with a specific value for the name, age, and student ID, employee ID, and salary. Call the display info, display student ID, display info employee, display employee ID, and display salary method to print out the information of the working student. In this question, you are using different classes: person as a base class, student and employee are as a child class, and working student as a grandchild. That we have already discussed. So last paragraph you have already discussed that in this question what we have done, and we have to just create instances now. So we have to just create an instance for our working student, right? So we have to create an instance for our working student. So working student class. So we have to create an instance for our working student class now. So let's create. So I will be saying let's say Arsalan is equals to working student, and it will be taking how many attributes. Let's first of all write down in the comment section that how many instance attribute it will be taking, so that you know how many attributes you have to put. So after you put it rightly, you will be knowing it that you have done right. If you are putting it wrong, then also you will be knowing that what is your level. So it's no harm that putting right is wrong, but you should write it so that you know what is your level. All right, so put it down in the comment section that how many instance attribute it will be taking. So first of all, its name. So let's say it's a name is Arsalan, and then let's say age is any random value. Let's say 24 is my age, and student ID is, let's say, 15034056789. So this is my student ID, and let's say employee ID is 1908 is my employee ID, and let's say salary is I have to put it in a string here. So let's say 25,000. I can put it like this too. So 20,000 is my salary, and after doing this, I can just write it here rupees, so it can show me in rupees. And after doing this, I can just call all the methods which I have created. So I can call the arsalan.display display info. First of all, I am calling it from my person class. So this belongs to person class, and then I can create 4 methods, and then I can focus on student class, then I can focus on employee class, and then I can focus on my working student class. And now I can just change it to display info to display student ID, display student arsalan.display student ID, and close it by parenthesis since it's a method. And then I can just remove it again from here, and I have to call display employee ID, and again close it by parenthesis since it's again a method. And finally I can just return display salary. And after doing this, if I run this code, first of all I will be getting name and age, then I will be getting a student ID, then I will be getting display employee ID, then I will be getting salary. So you can just see it that name, age, student ID, employee ID, salary to 20,000 rupees, or I can just write it RS. That should be also working fine. All right, so that is fine, that whatever you wish to put you can put. And let's run it again. and show it to you that I'm getting how much, what values I'm getting. So this was all in this tutorial, and I will be showing you one more thing before I just conclude it from this tutorial, that instead of I put here person here, so if I used super init function instead of this, let me show it to you what I will be getting here. All right, so let me show it to you what I will be getting if I put super here, super, and I will be just commenting down this part and doing it for the same for this part too. All right, and doing commenting this here, and it's taking name each and super in it, so that is fine. And if I run this, uh, let's run this. So see, it has been throwing me an error. uh, so it's showing me 5 attributes and it's showing me an error. So why it's showing me an error? Because I have taken a super init function and it is getting confused that which name and age I have to inherit, because it is inheriting. So as you can see, in employee I have name and age, and student also I have name and age. So while it was inheriting, working student was inheriting, it was getting confused that which name and age it has to inherit from. All right, so while we put here name age and we just take student here directly, and we just take the name of the parent class directly here instead of using super init function, it understand that where the name and age and whatever the variables and whatever the function it has is coming from. So if you put directly the name, it will be not getting confused and it will be not creating an ambiguity. All right, so if I remove this and comment down this, comment down this, and comment down this, uncomment this and comment down this, it should be working fine again now. As you can see, it's running fine. So I hope you understand that why we have used this type of functionality and why we have applied this method of just directly putting the parent class. So this was all for today on day 50th. We will be just introducing new concept after this tutorial, which include polymorphism. So next class we will be just discussing about polymorphism. I hope that you have understood the part of inheritance very clearly, and if you have any doubt you can just ask me in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching this video on day 50th. Please do subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, press the bell icon button and bookmark the playlist, and see you next time.